Aloha everyone and welcome to Skincare with Hyram. If you don't know who I am, my name's Hyram and I'm passionate about teaching you how to perfect your skincare routine. So make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that you can see my videos every single week. If you guys hear a noise, it's my roommate's dog. She is chewing on some cardboard and having the time of her life, so I'm just gonna let her do that and live her best life. It is my favorite time of the year because I get to get into the best of videos, which is when I do my year-long roundup of all the best products I've been able to find over the course of this last year. And 2021 has been very interesting for sunscreens because if you watch my last video from last year, when I did the best sunscreens of 2020, I talked about how I specifically wanted to make an effort to find better sunscreens that are really enjoyable to use, high quality, and just really excel. And I think I have found some that I'm so excited to share with you guys. Some of these ones I have not mentioned in videos before, and I'm really excited to tell you guys all about them. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down all of the best sunscreens that I have used this past year. Some of them, yes, are from the previous years as well, just because they are that good. But some of these products are brand new that I haven't mentioned in videos before. And I'm going to be splitting them up by skin type so you know which sunscreen is going to work best for your skin. Also, similarly to previous videos, I'm going to have a sunscreen rating based off of white cast. If you aren't familiar with my personal stance on sunscreen, I do only recommend mineral sunscreens on my channel just because I find that they're the best for people with sensitive skin, which is a bunch of you people who are watching sensitive skin babes, and just what I consider the best quality sunscreens out there. I want to make sure that all of my sunscreen recommendations are as accessible as possible, and when it comes to a bunch of other sunscreen filters, it's really kind of a toss-up as to whether or not they're going to agree with your skin, and I find that mineral-based sunscreens are the best for complementing as many skin conditions as possible, particularly people with sensitive skin. Now, finding good quality sunscreens, is a struggle because, girl, it is the hardest category of skincare to find really high quality products for. Sunscreen formulation is really difficult and very expensive, so it can be quite a time-consuming process finding really good quality sunscreens, but I'm really proud of the ones that I'm going to be mentioning in today's video, and I can't wait to share them with you. As always, if you are interested in getting any of these products, I will include all the affiliate links in the description box below. I do make a small percentage from them, and I would really appreciate if you use those links just to support my channel and all of the hard work that I have invested into searching for these sunscreens. I'm being dramatic, but I would really appreciate the support. So if you are planning on shopping any of them, feel free to use those links below. So shall we get into them? We shall. So I'm first going to start out with sunscreen recommendations for all my dry skin babes out there. Because it is winter time, I understand that you are probably on the lookout for some good sunscreens that continually nourish your skin throughout the day, don't leave your skin matte and dry, and still offer a good quality protection. Now, there are two main sunscreens I found that work really well for dry skin, and I personally really enjoyed using when I was in a drier climate. Up first is the Rovectin Aqua Soothing UV Protector SPF 50. Now, I've talked about this in videos before. I am in love with this sunscreen simply because of how nourishing it feels to the skin, but also for the level of protection it provides. It is an SPF 50 sunscreen, so you're getting the highest level of protection possible, and it's a really elegant formula. It has mineral filters like zinc oxide and titanium dioxide, but also a bunch of other really good ingredients for the health of the skin, like niacinamide, my favorite ingredient, but it also has apple extract for gentle exfoliation and sunflower seed oil to really help nourish the skin. I like to rate sunscreens from a level 1 to a level 3, level 1 being the most complementary to as many skin tones as possible. When it comes to mineral sunscreens, it's always really a gamble as to what skin tones they're going to be able to be used on because mineral filters just have a natural tint to them, so they are kind of difficult to work with. And if you are someone with a darker skin tone, I actually have made a video in the past about the best sunscreens for darker skin tones. I'll have it linked in the description box below if you want to go watch it. But a level 1 is the most complementary to the most skin types. Level 2, some people with the deepest skin tones may see some white cast or there may be a tint to the sunscreen. And a level 3 means that it does have some white cast, so it may be accessible to only certain skin tones. Hopefully this makes it easier for you guys when you're navigating your sunscreen purchases. I would rate the Rovectin sunscreen about a level 2. There is a white cast that can be minimized when you really rub it into your skin. It's not as aggressive as a lot of other mineral sunscreens where the white cast can be pretty intense. I found that this one is pretty minimal, but for the sake of making sure that my recommendations are as accessible as possible to as many skin types, I would say this has about a rating of a 2. It has a little bit of a white cast that you may notice, but overall I've seen really good application and absorption in my skin. I really don't notice a white cast, and this is one that whenever my skin was feeling dry or I wanted really strong protection, I always found myself grabbing. I used this for a good, I think, 3 months straight, 4 months straight. It was my everyday sunscreen. I love this one. The other sunscreen I recommend for people with dry skin types is the Kinship Probiotic SPF 32 sunscreen. I initially discovered this one because I love the brand Kinship. I'm a huge fan of them. I actually did a collaboration kit with them in the past, but what really caught my attention is how well this sunscreen works on deeper skin tones. I've seen people with really deep skin tones love using this sunscreen for its very minimal to no white cast, and personally I would give it a white cast rating of 1, which is really impressive considering this is a zinc oxide based sunscreen. It has a bunch of really high quality, nourishing, amazing ingredients. I find that it works well for people with like combination to dry and dry skin types. It definitely hydrates the skin and has a really great blend of natural extracts, antioxidants, and probiotics. Overall, I'm just really impressed with this formula. I've mentioned it in many videos before. This continues to be one of the best sunscreens that I have found for combination to dry skin types, and especially if you're looking for a sunscreen that has a very minimal white cast to no white cast. So if you're someone who's like, I'm hesitant to get into the mineral sunscreen category, but I still want a sunscreen that's really nourishing to my skin, this is going to be your best friend. I highly recommend this one. Oh, I forgot to mention this before. When it comes to my best of videos, I typically like to offer a pretty wide range of price points. That way, if you're someone who has maybe a little bit of a tighter budget, you have some affordable recommendations, as well as products with a little bit of a higher price point that perform really well. But when it comes to sunscreen specifically, it is tricky to find a really affordable sunscreen that is high quality and high performing. And that's just the nature of sunscreens. They're really difficult to develop and usually tend to cost a lot of money to make. So all these sunscreens I would say are at a medium to higher price point. Now, I'm not going crazy. None of these sunscreens are like $80, $100, anything like that. But they are a little bit more expensive than say what you'd find in my other best of videos. And honestly, that's just because I prefer to recommend sunscreens that I know you guys are actually going to use and are really enjoyable and high performing, rather than just recommending sunscreens that are the lowest price point simply for the sake of price point, because I would not want to recommend a product to you that you end up hating and wasting some money on, as opposed to investing in a really high quality sunscreen. And if I were to say you should splurge on one item in your skincare routine, it is definitely your sunscreen. If you have to spend a little bit more money on a product, I would definitely recommend allotting that towards a sunscreen and then making the rest of your routine more affordable. Next up is for all my combination skin babes, which is actually my personal skin type. I do have combination to more oily skin, so finding a good sunscreen for combination skin was really the biggest challenge I had to face, but I have a few recommendations I'm really excited about. First up is the Dr. Dennis Gross Dark Spot Sun Defense SPF 50 sunscreen. I wouldn't say recently found it. I probably found this about 8 months ago, 9 months ago, and the second I used it, I was instantly obsessed with it. This is an example of a very high quality sunscreen that I think is expertly formulated, and definitely I will say the highest price point sunscreen I think in this entire video. It is on the pricier side, just an FYI, but this is so amazing. I was actually recommended it by one of my teammates, Maddie. She was like, oh my gosh, you have to try the new Dr. Dennis Gross sunscreens. They are amazing. And what really brought my attention to them is that I actually say them because I'm featuring 2 of their sunscreens in this video. I think this is a first for my best of videos to feature 2 sunscreens in one video, but they're both just really amazing. This one I'd say is great if you have combination to drier skin type. It is a more richer cream formula, but it still dries down really nicely on the skin, and overall the experience is just lovely. It starts off as a cream but works its way really nicely into the skin. It is an SPF 50 formula, so you're getting the highest level of protection, but it doesn't feel like what a lot of SPF 50 formulas feel like, which is typically very heavy, very creamy, thick, hard to diffuse across your skin, and overall just pretty unpleasant. That's the reality of most SPF 50 sunscreens. They're extremely hard to formulate, so when I find a good SPF 50 sunscreen, I'm like, huh, I am keeping you close. Come to mama. The first time I swatched it on my hand, I was like, wow, this blends in really nicely, and every single time I've used it, I have always been impressed. I would give this a sunscreen rating of 1. I really haven't noticed any white cast whatsoever. When I've seen it used on different skin tones, I haven't seen a white cast either. And yes, it is on the pricier side. I will say that. It is definitely something I find worth spending on just because of how high quality the formula is. Not that I'm saying it's necessary that you need to spend this much money on a sunscreen. You definitely don't. But if you are someone who wants just an ultra luxurious, really high quality, high performing experience, I would definitely recommend this one. Or the other Dr. Dennis Gross sunscreen I'm about to mention. And I am so upset because I don't have the bottle with me, because when I was traveling to London, I somehow misplaced this sunscreen. I don't know where it is, and I thought I brought it back, but I have searched all over my collection and I cannot find the sunscreen anywhere, so I'm sorry, but I will throw it up on the screen here. It is the Dr. Dennis Gross Lightweight Wrinkle Defense SPF 30. Now, I know you may be thinking, what? There's two sunscreens from Dr. Dennis Gross that look really, really similar, but I will say from an experience standpoint, they're definitely different, but both just as high quality performing as each other. This one I really like because I would say it is a good match for people who have straight up combination skin. It is very lightweight and more lightweight in consistency than this one. I'd say it's a more liquidy texture as opposed to this one, which is a cream, but it's still a really nice experience. I love this one because it sinks into the skin so quickly. It does not feel heavy at all. Oreo, what are you doing? It's almost midnight. How are you not asleep? She's a little antsy. It is an SPF 30, so you are getting slightly less protection, but at the same time, I typically wear an SPF 30 on a day-to-day basis, just as long as you're reapplying and applying enough in the morning. That's the most important part. With this one, if you're looking for a lightweight experience, I'd say it is definitely a good one to go with. Like the other one, the price point is a little bit high, and I remember when I first discovered these products and I was like, oh my gosh, they're expensive. I don't know if I can justify this. But then once I started using them, I was like, oh wait, maybe I can. It is one of those things that stings, but you guys know me. When it comes to a really good quality sunscreen, I am willing to pay a good price in order to get the best experience possible and the best level of protection. The benefit of this one as opposed to this one is that this does include zinc oxide and titanium dioxide, but the SPF 30 sunscreen only has zinc oxide. And there are some people out there who may have a slight sensitivity to titanium dioxide. It's not super common, but it does happen. And if you are one of those people, then I would say go with the SPF 30 formula. Both have a good blend of antioxidants, but I've talked about this before when it comes to sunscreens. I'm not super picky about the ingredients because at the end of the day, if it protects you from the sun and it's a good quality experience, that's all I really care about. For a sunscreen, I just want it to work and work really well. And then last but not least, my oily skin babes. People that I personally relate to having more oily based skin here in a humid environment. It is very difficult to find a sunscreen that works well on oily skin that is not just misery wearing throughout the day. I'd say when it comes to oily skin sunscreens, this is where I was the most strict when it came to my recommendations, just because I know the feeling of wearing a really heavy sunscreen. I feel like you have to reapply it when you really don't want to because of how much it builds up on your skin. I understand it is not a pleasant experience, but I've used 3 sunscreens this year, all of which I really love, and I have actually featured in previous videos. If you guys watch a lot of my videos, you will have seen these products before just because I think they're that amazing and ones that I honestly just find myself constantly using over and over and over again. The first one I absolutely have to mention because, well, besides my own products that I launched this year, I would say this is probably my top favorite skincare product of this entire year. It is the Bliss Blockstar Invisible Daily Sunscreen SPF 30. You guys, when I tell you I have been using the sunscreen every single day nonstop for exclude the time I spent testing other sunscreens, I'd say well over 6 months. I've used this one every day. I am absolutely obsessed with this formula. Honestly, to the point of annoyance, just because I mention it so much, but I really, really do love it this much. I'd say this is the best drugstore sunscreen I found. You can find it at Target. It's just an incredible formula because it has this nice corrective tint that works if you're wanting to offset white cast or just have a little bit of corrective coverage. I am someone who really doesn't like wearing makeup or even wearing a tinted moisturizer because they can have a lot of coverage, but sometimes I like some extra coverage just to minimize any excess redness on my skin. I just like to have an ever so slight amount of coverage across my face to minimize any excess redness, to kind of withstand, the different irritation that happens throughout the day, and just give your skin that extra oomph. You know what I'm saying? And it's been cool to see your guys' response to this sunscreen because I've just seen so much love for this formula, and I think it's well deserved. In addition to the slight coverage, this is one of the most mattifying sunscreens I've used, which I really appreciate being able to use on more oily days. And I think it's a great price point, and the fact that it's at Target and so accessible, I just really appreciate it. I will say, if you are someone who's sensitive to fragrance, this does include lavender oil, and over time I've warmed up to lavender oil because out of all the essential oils, it's one of the least irritating and it has very minimal potential for sensitivity. But at the same time, some people do experience irritation to lavender oil or just any essential oil at all. So if you are in that category, then I would say to avoid this one. Oh, also the other reason I love this one, it is one of the most easy sunscreens to reapply throughout the day. That's one of the big challenges when it comes to sunscreen, is that it may feel pleasant when you first put it on, but when you have to reapply it, it's just, it's not fun. And even a good formula can feel extra greasy and extra heavy. And I have never noticed that problem with this sunscreen. I've reapplied it 3-4 times throughout the day, and I still feel like my skin isn't shiny, can breathe, and still looks good. For a white cast rating, I would give it a 2, not because there's really a white cast, but because there is that corrective tint. So if you're someone with really, really, really fair skin or someone with a really deep skin tone. I don't know that this would work for your skin, although I have seen it work on people with deeper skin tones, and I've seen other YouTubers like, I believe Glow by Ramon really likes this one for deeper skin tones as well. But if you have really pale skin, this may be a little bit too tan for you. So just putting that out there, but I cannot sing enough praises to this product because I love it so much. The other sunscreen, which I believe I featured in last year's Best of Sunscreen and is yet another product that I cannot find. I did take this one while I was traveling and I think I left it in the bathroom of the Airbnb I was staying at. Bummer. I'm gonna have to rebuy it, but it is the MD Solar Sciences Mineral SPF 50 sunscreen. I really just have to give so much praise to MD Solar Sciences because they really know how to formulate a sunscreen. I think their formula is really elegant. It goes onto the skin very nicely. It features zinc and titanium dioxide. It also has ingredients like vitamin C and green tea as well, if that's appealing to you. And just the way it feels and blends out onto the skin works so well if you have oily skin. And it has such a minimal white cast that I would give this sunscreen a white cast rating of 1. I'm just always impressed with their formulas, but specifically this one because year after year it continues to impress me, and it's honestly one that I feel comfortable recommending to so many people just because of how superior the formula is. They just do a really good job. I really like theirs. And then finally, the last best sunscreen of 2021 is also one that I mentioned before. It is the Sun Bum Sheer Tint SPF 30. This one is another great drugstore sunscreen that's really easy to find and I find is really pleasant on the skin. It is a more silicone based formula. Oh, and I should say that with MD Solar Sciences sunscreen as well. They're both more silicone based sunscreens, which I don't have a problem with. I've talked about silicones on my channel before. They can be really helpful for the skin to prevent transepidermal water loss and add a nice slip to the formula, which can be really nice when it comes to applying as rich and thick of formulas as a sunscreen. This one has a tint very similar to the Bliss Blockstar sunscreen, but this one is a little bit more affordable and really easy to find. I found this at Target, at drugstores, at surf shops. It's everywhere. It includes zinc oxide and titanium dioxide and beneficial ingredients like rosemary extract and rice bran. Just FYI, if you're someone who really doesn't like a silicone feel, then I would not recommend this one because that is the prominent feature. However, I think that can be really nice, particularly if you're out and about. I reapply this all the time when I'm at the beach just because it's really it's just super easy to reapply. And if you are someone who's, say, sensitive to lavender oil, this is a great alternative to the Bliss Blockstar SPF 30 sunscreen. Similar formulas. I would as well give this a rating of 2 as far as the white cast rating, not because there is much of a white cast, but more so because of that tint it has. Similarly to Bliss, I've seen this used on darker skin tones, but if you are someone who's really pale, then this may not be applicable to you, to your skin specifically. Anyway, those are all of the best sunscreens of 2021 that I have been able to find. I really appreciate you guys watching because I have put in a lot of work as much as I can trying to find new good sunscreens to recommend to you guys, and I hope that one of these sunscreens can be your new dream favorite formula that you'll use for as long as you can until you find the next best one. Like I said before, if you're interested in purchasing any of these, I have all the products linked in the description box below, and I would really appreciate it if you use them and supported my channel. But no pressure as always. I just really appreciate you guys watching and supporting as always. Make sure you stay tuned for the rest of the videos because I will be covering the other basic steps of the skincare routine like cleansers, serums, and moisturizers. All of the best ones of 2021 combined. And if you guys haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that you can see my videos every single week. And I will see you guys in the next one. Mwah.